Hi there, welcome back to the YouTube channel. I'm back. It's started. We've got wonderfully, and thank you very much, Wizards of the Coast. If anyone ever watched this from Wizards of the Coast, I'm so excited. We have got all of the commander cards and all of the legends and everything else programmed into MTGO. So there's going to be quite a few videos coming out over the next few weeks of me talking about decks I've built, decks I'm planning on building, and maybe even taking you through some of the deck building processes that I'm doing as I go along. But I'm really excited. It's just going to be one of those sets because there are so many legends, there are so many different things you can build around. Yes, some of them may have some similarities between other cards we've seen in the past. Some of them are completely new. There's a video down below, I'll put the link in the description, to where I talk about the two commander decks. I'm trying to avoid the cards from the commander decks. They'll turn up in some of the decks, but I don't think it's worth talking about the commander decks. They're there. If you like playing commander on MTGO, find your $60, go buy them. Basically, you can get a lot of value from them, especially at the moment since Arcane Signet is sitting around about 10 tickets trading in. So if you spend what, $60 on the two commander decks, whether it turns into in UK money, you can go and sell off the two Arcane Signets, because if you've got one already, you can sell one and keep one, and you'll get about 10 tickets back for it. They're worth doing at the moment, but how long it stays at that level I don't know, but it's worth looking at the moment if you aren't there already. So where are we starting today then? I'll finish talking rubbish, I'll finish promoting it. I'm recording this in the middle of September, and I'll talk about that at the end, but I thought let's go and get one of the biggest cards that people are really excited about in Commander. It's already turning up on EDH Rec. I haven't looked at anything there at all, and I thought it's time for me to get involved with the hype with this card. So without further ado, here is Jodah the Unifier. Ruberg, so white, blue, black, red and green. Legendary creature, human wizard. Legendary creatures you control get +X/+X, where X is the number of legendary creatures you control. And whenever you cast a legendary spell from your hand, exile cards from the top of the library until you exile a legendary non-land card with less of mana value. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost, put the rest of them on the bottom in a random order. It's a 5/5, it's Jodah, it's a new version. For those of you who have been around for a while, Jodah was another legend from a while back. He was, if I remember correctly, white, blue and red and 1, and you could pay white, blue, black, red and green to cast anything from your hand. This is the upgraded new version. So where am I going with this? It's based around legendary creatures. I like playing legendary creatures, and this deck is literally packed full of all of them. There is one creature in here that isn't legendary, and a few spells to back things up. But even most of the spells are legendary, but there's a few that aren't, and I'll go through them purely because I think it's worth doing. So the mana base, as you can imagine, is a complete mismatch of everything you can think of. Any dual land I had, I put in. I even checked in my Gaze Cradle, so ignore the price if you're looking at the deck list that I've put up on MTG Goldfish. But we've got it all there. I have also got the usual suspect in the Field of the Dead, because in this deck it's going to be triggering most of the time when you get it in play. I've included a few legendary lands, not many. Yeah, that's their Gaze Cradle. That's about it, I think, from the legendary lands. But as you can see, it's just a complete mismatch of lands and colours. I have included one of each basic land. I'm getting a little bit concerned when I'm playing 5-colour decks like this, because I'm really heavy into dual lands, that I do get stuck where I can't get anything cast because I haven't got basics. There's one forest, one mountain, one plains, one swamp, one island in the deck. So bear that in mind when you go through it. The ramp, again, is a little bit usual for if you've seen any of my other videos. Manic Crypt's in, Soul Ring's in, Arcane Signet's in, Fellwild Stone's in. For this one, I've also picked up Timeless Lotus because I think it's worth having, and it's reasonable priced at the moment, so I grabbed one while it was still reasonably priced. And I got a foil Relic of Legends in a draft I did in one of the previous videos on Twitch, so I've chucked that in because it has a really nice ability. You can tap it and add 1 mana of any colour, but you can tap an untapped legendary creature you control to add 1 mana of any colour. It really does help you ramp, and especially in this deck. I'm really excited to try this out. So Jodah really does rely on legendary creatures, and everything is legendary. A lot of these creatures you've seen before in some of my other videos, but we'll just go through them, and I'll talk about the one creature in here that isn't legendary to start with. Hero of Precinct 1. Whenever you cast a multicoloured spell, create a 1/1 white human creature token. Yeah, that's it. This is the only creature in the deck that I can remember putting in here that isn't legendary. Everything else in the deck is legendary. There's a couple of things in here I'm just playing for the sake of it because it could be fun, but this is the only non-legendary one. And the reason it's in here, if you look at the deck, as you can see on the video in front of you at the moment, virtually every legend I have picked, every legendary creature definitely, is multicoloured. So you're going to be, if you can get this into play and then just start casting some of your creatures, you'll be getting a little bit of extra value with the 1/1 human tokens. So bear that in mind as we're going through this deck. Right, so let's go through the rest of it. We've got Farseek in, purely because Farseek will go and let you get some of the triomes, or further down you've got the lands that came from New Capenna. So you can go and fetch them out and they ignore the fact they've got forest. So it does help you fix your mana quite nicely. Likewise, Sylvan Scribe's in here for the same thing. It goes and gets you a land. You might as well just have this in here, and you can go and get something that's really important to you, like, you know, Field of the Dead maybe. But, you know, you can go and get a land for colour you're missing and so on and so forth. We've got Kalanian Reclusive Painter. We dropped this one in purely because he gives us a treasure token. It's not doing a lot else, but it's a 1/2 and we need an early. I wanted some early legends in here, so we've got Kalane in. We've got Emira, Soul of Accord. So when that becomes tapped, which, you know, when you're tapping it with this, you get some nice little soldier tokens, which is cool. And I've put Lonus in. I know Lonus is one of my main commanders elsewhere, but I decided, it's another cheap legend in the 2-drop slot where I'm a little bit short of things, so that's gone in as well. The only other thing in the 2-drop slot that I've put in is Hero's Blade. It's a 2 mana for +3/+2 piece of equipment, but whenever a legendary creature enters a battlefield under your control, you can attach it for free. Yes, it costs 4 to equip otherwise, but, you know, the amount of legends we're going to be dropping, giving them +3/+2 when they come into play, seemed like a really good plan to me, hence why it's in here. First one of the non-legendary creatures or things is Widespread Thievery. It benefits us because we're going to be casting a lot of multicoloured spells, as you can see from the deck. So we're going to be getting treasure tokens, which obviously help with Kalane as well. And then if we can get it up and pay Wooburg, so white, blue, black, red and green, we get to cast whatever we've hidden away for free from under it. So that's why it's here. Cultivate's in to go and find some of those basic lands I was talking about earlier. I figure we might as well have this in just to get some ramp on, a little bit more ramp, not too much, but just this. Fight Rigging's in. Getting creatures up to 7 power is not going to be difficult with this deck. We have a lot of pump spells. We're going to have Jodah as well, don't forget, that gives them all +X/+X. So it's probably quite easy to cast this when you've got Jodah in play and get an instant 7/7 creature and then cast the cards under it. And you get to put +1/+1 counters around, you get to chuck them around a bit, so that really does help. Azeka is in here. I said I only had one multicoloured creature. I forgot about this one when I was doing the blurb at the start, but I'm not casting Azeka as a god. I'm using it for the Prismatic Bridge. You're going to get this in play, you're going to get a creature in play, it's going to be really good fun, so that's why it's in here. If you need the mana ramp, yeah, okay, cast the Azeka, God of the Tree side, but I would imagine you want to hold on and try and get the Prismatic Bridge off, because it's just going to be so much better in the long run. Ludwig Necroalchemist is in. Beginning of each player's end step, that player may draw a card of a player other than you lost life this turn. It's a 1/4, it's a cheap legend. Yeah, it's a legend, that's why it's in here. King Darian, the whatever number he's up to, I'm not very good. I think that's 76, 78, I don't know, someone can correct me down below. I can't remember what, I know X is 50, I can't remember what L is, but anyway. It's not bad. 1 white, 1 green, 1 other for a 2/3 legendary human soldier. And other creatures you control get +1/+1. And then you can pay 5 and put a +1/+1 counter on King Darian and create a soldier token. And then you can sacrifice King Darian, and creature tokens you control gain hexproof and indestructible at the end of turn. So if you've got a lot of tokens from this, and from Hero Precinct 1, you might have some big thing that needs blocking that doesn't trample. Sacking him off, having some 1/1s block it all and kill it is a possibility. But, you know, at the end of the day, bit of a giggle. Likewise, Torrens is on the same plan. Okay, it comes with training, same mana value, but when you cast a creature spell, you get a 1/1 green and white human soldier creature token with training. Get the tokens going. Edric's in. You want to be drawing cards in this deck. One of the lands in the deck is the land that stops you discarding, so that's in here, so you'll be drawing some stuff and that's pretty good going. I've put Rafine in. Whenever you attack, target attacking creature connives X. It seems like a plan. It's also a legendary creature and is cheap. That's why it's gone in. Likewise with Jared, Corolith True Hair. From red, green and white you get 3/3, which is okay. And when it becomes into play, you make one of your opponents the monarch. And you can't become the monarch this turn. But if you are the monarch, if you get the monarchy back, if damage would be dealt to Jared while you're the monarch, prevent that damage and put that many +1/+1 counters on it. You can make Jared big very quickly. So bear that in mind. Jenny Faye Jetmir's seconds in. We're going to be creating some tokens, so we might as well have this in play to make some cat tokens or dog tokens. And it's also a 3/3 legendary creature that gives you a bit of flexibility on how you can cast it, so I was quite happy to include that. The other thing I've included is Animar. Now Animar is usually a creature commander on its own. Protection from white and black helps. And when you cast a creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each creature +1/+1 counter on Animar. There's a couple of reasons in here. Some of the creatures coming up later on do have generic mana costs, so that helps take them down. But it also helps if you get Jodah killed. When you cast Jodah, obviously, it will take into effect any +1/+1 counters on here, which reduce your command attacks. So some of the time you'll just be carrying on casting Jodah maybe a couple of times for 5 mana. Bear it in mind. The only other bit of equipment in the deck is Champion's Helm. I decided this was a cunning plan. 3 mana to cast it, to give a creature +2/+2 when you equip it, and it equips for 1. But as long as the equipped creature is legendary, it has hexproof. Considering what 95-97% of the creatures in this deck are legendary, giving them hexproof could really help you win the game. Likewise, I've chucked in Mirror Box, just so the legendary, we're not really copying anything, but it's another way of pumping the legendary creatures up with +1/+1. And each non-token creature you control gets +1/+1 for each other creature you control with the same name as that creature. Now that bit's not as necessary, but a 3 mana +1/+1 that just targets your legendary creatures, I thought we might as well play it. Felice is here, Fang of Silverquill. I've talked about this before. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, if it had counters on it, create X tapped 2/1 white and black inkling tokens with flying, where X is the number of the counters on it. We have got Gavany Township in here, so we can chuck some +1/+1 counters around, or other ways of doing things. So this is why this is here. Plus it's legendary and it flies. Prosper's in. No point in playing a legendary deck without Prosper if you're playing all 5 colours at this stage. The actual ability to exile those cards and then play them until the end of your next turn and get a treasure token is really very good. I included Hans Eriksson in here. It looks like Seth if you know who I'm talking about. When it attacks, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, put it onto the battlefield, taps an attacking, defending player or planeswalker they control. Otherwise, put that card into your hand. When you put a creature card onto the battlefield this way, it fights hands. 9 times out of 10, you're going to just draw the card and put it into your hand. If you're going to win the game that turn with that extra attacker, fine, kill hands off. We can get him back. We've got Elixir of Immortality in the deck, so we can shuffle everything from our graveyard back into our library. So if you need to kill him, kill him. Lenore Autumn Sovereign's here to chuck around the +1/+1 counters, so we get a little bonus from that. And we are going to have creatures that have a lot of the time with 3 different types of power, so we're going to be drawing that extra card. So hence it's in. Likewise, Tristani's in here for the Celestia's Voice. Gives us a bit of life gain. A little bit complicated to cast with the 2 green and 2 white, but I figured it's worth a try to get it in. And if we do get the tokens into play, we can populate. So get some more 1/1 soldiers if need be. Likewise, Adrex and Nev's in here for the same reason. Okay, it's got ward, a little bit harder to kill, and if we create tokens, treasure tokens, soldier tokens, warrior tokens, whatever we're creating, get a couple of extra ones, could be a blessing. Marchesa the Black Rose, give all our creatures dethrone, and whenever a creature with a +1/+1 counter on it dies, return that card to the battlefield under your control at the beginning of the next end step. This plus Gavany Township is a very good little combo. Bear that in mind if you're playing something like this. It's very hard to get Gavany Township usually into a deck where Marchesa is, but since we're playing 5 colours, not a problem with this one. Atlanta the Planny Nest Tender's in here as well. Notice it gives us egg tokens. With Adrix in play, we get a couple of egg tokens. And when they die, you get to reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card and put it onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in the random order. Getting some of the creatures out, nice cheap way of doing it. Likewise, I've included Jetmir. We're going to have a lot of creatures in play. Giving them all the bonuses you've seen in my Jetmir deck before now is probably a really good idea, and it's multicoloured, so it does help. I've included Shanine Sleeper's Scourge in here, just for the card draw really. We're going to get a little bit of life gain, hopefully off Trostani. So when we play the legendary land or cast a legendary spell, we draw a card, lose a life. Just be careful if our life's getting low so we don't get killed off very quickly. I've included, I think, just 2 versions of Omnath in here. So we've got the Locus of Royal. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put +1/+1 counter on target elementals. It's probably going to go on Omnath itself. And if you've got 8 or more lands, draw a card. Sheskia the Unyielding in here. So we can pick a player when we play it and get the damage into them if they've got, say, I don't know, Propaganda, Ghostly Prism, so on and so forth, something along those lines. We can get around it by naming them with Saskia for a little while until they kill it off. Cronus Trio of Metas, 2/8. I quite like this card. At the beginning of your end step, draw a card. Each May player put a land card from their hand onto the battlefield, then each opponent who didn't draws a card. Keeps you friendly for a little while, gets you through your deck a little bit quicker. And it's also a 2/8 legendary. The other version of Omnath I've included is Locus of Creation. It's still a stupid card. I know we all got fed up with it in Standard. I know it got banned in Standard on MTG Arena. It's been completely changed if you're playing it Historic. But at the end of the day, this is Commander. This is how the card was printed. Drawing the card, gaining the life, getting it to resolve and giving you some mana, and then dealing 4 if you can get a 3rd land into play is fantastic. So that's why it's in here. I would imagine a lot of the time it will just be getting the landfall and gaining the life. So it does help us a little bit, especially if we're going to be losing life to the Sleeper's Scourge here. Going over to the 5 drops, the other hideaway land enchantments in, sorry. I've put Rabble Rousing in just so we get small tokens. We get 10 or more creatures in play, we can play the exiled card. Again, it works well with this. We get life when they come in from this, so on and so forth. That's why it's in here, and it's a bit of a laugh as well. Urza's Runer's Blast. Exile all non-legend land permanents that aren't legendary. Well, that won't really affect us that much because most of our deck is legendary. Yeah, we'll lose some of we might lose Mana Crypt, Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, but you probably won't be casting this until you've got enough mana in play to do it, and you won't be using it, and if they have to go, they have to go. But it does wipe the board, it gives you a really good chance of winning. Likewise, Yagmoth's File Offerings in as well. You can return a creature or planeswalking card from the graveyard to the battlefield under our control, and then destroy up to 1 target creature or planeswalker. Notice it's not our graveyard with this card, it's anyone's graveyard. So if you manage to kill off someone's, I don't know, Ugin, for example, you can nick it back. Bear it in mind. I've chucked Eloise in. Creatures we control are going to die. It doesn't say tokens, so we can kill the token creatures off and get some clue tokens. Literally works really well in partnership with Lonis as well. Extra clue tokens, hence why it's here. And when we sacrifice tokens, we get to Surveil 1, which can help get us down to the cards we want to get into. The other version of Trostani is in here as well, just so we can give the creatures +1/+1 again, get some soldier tokens, and stop people nicking all our stuff, which is quite nice. Though I've got a feeling this may be slightly bugged. I'm not sure. I think it may just bring back everything you control, but we'll play it for now, and if it comes to that, I'll take it out of the deck at some stage. Madja Brettengard Protectors in. Again, pumps all our creatures up, and it's got a landfall trigger. Why they didn't call it landfall, I'm guessing they didn't want it in Kaldheim. But when a land enters the battlefield under your control, get a human warrior creature token. So it's in, and it's legendary. Girad Conclave Exiles in for the populate idea. Also, it's a 2/5 that comes in with a 4/4 Rhino. 5 mana for, 6 power worth of stats? Yes, please, thank you very much. Rianne, Angel of Rebirth, it's obviously going to be in. Multicoloured creatures we control get +1/+0. And then whenever a multicoloured creature you control dies, return it to your hand. Yeah, you would not play. Why would you not play this at any stage? It just seems silly. Admittedly, it only affects other creatures, so if it does die in a sort of Wrath effect and you lose all your creatures, you get the other ones back, you won't get Rianne back. But that's one of the reasons Elixir of Immortality is in here. Xyris the Writhing Storm helps with the card draw, gives us some snake tokens. Why wouldn't we play it? And it's legendary. You get the feeling there's a lot of legendary creatures in this deck, and I'm enjoying it. Likewise, that's why Akim's in here. Whenever you create 1 or more tokens for the first time each turn, create a 1/1 bird token. But creature tokens you control gain double striking to the end of the turn. That could be pivotal with the amount of creature tokens we can technically create with this deck, hence why it's here. Garth the One Eye. I did try and build this as a commander at one stage. I wasn't happy with it, I couldn't get it to work. But I figured for this deck, let's have it in here because we can tap it, get Disenchant, Brain Geezer, Terror, Shivering Dragon, Regrowth, or of course, Black Lotus, and play it. You still have to pay its mana cost to play it, you can tap it and do it, but you're going to be tapping it 9 times out of 10 and putting the Black Lotus into play just to see it in commander and upset your opponents. Hero's Podium is in play, is another variation of Jodah. Bear this in mind. Each legendary creature you control gets +1/+1 for each other legendary creature you control. So basically, however many legendary creatures you've got, take one off it, and that's the +1/+1 number that each other legendary creature you control gets. So it's a little bit weaker in Jodah, but it does have a nice ability where you can pay X and look at the top X cards of your library, reveal a legendary creature card, put it in your hand. Does get you down shuffling through your deck, and it could be quite fun. Timeless Lotus I've talked about, let's try it out in this deck. Khan's Temple Sundering is the only extra turn spell I'm playing. Get to take an extra turn, you get to target one non-land permanent and bounce it back to their hand. Okay, you exile at the end of turn, but the extra turn may win the game for you. Likewise, Primeval's Glorious Rebirth's in here. If you get late in the game, a lot of your legendary creatures have been killed, and you've got at least one of them in play, another legendary creature in play, or a planeswalker. It's no planeswalkers, it's got to be a legendary creature. 7 mana, cast this, get them all back out your graveyard, back onto the battlefield, and you'll see your opponent's faces shut down. If you're playing face to face with a deck like this, or on MTGO, you'll probably get a load of grief in the chat. It's funny, but that's what we're going to do with this. I've also included Torsten, founder of Ben Eilier, in here. I am doing a separate deck tech on this, it'll be out shortly. But I figured this one was worth putting in, because you can put any number of creature and or land cards from among them into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order, in a random order. And when he dies, you get 7 1/1 White Soldier creature tokens. So if he dies, Nev's out, you're getting 14. No brainer really for this. And also it's one of the I think it's one of the box toppers from the new set. I don't think it turns up in any of the decks, so I figured I'll pick one up while it's reasonably cheap on MTGO and have a bit of fun with it. But keep an eye out for the other deck tech that's coming out for this. The last few cards in the deck, here we go. Maelstrom Wanderer. Get the cascade triggers going. You've all seen Maelstrom Wanderer before now. It does have the upside of giving all our creatures haste as well, which really does help, especially if you've got something, a spare bit of mana. You've got Atalin kicking around. Likewise, Carador the Ghost Chieftain's in here as well. It helps us cast stuff from our graveyards if we need to, hence why I've included it. Yes, it's expensive. It's the top end, and it must mean you can bring some of the other things back. So, and it is creature spells, which most of our deck is. The final card in the deck, Kamal's Druidic Vow. Yeah. It could have been Genesis Wave, but I've thought we'll go down this road. Since we're trying to keep it as much legendary as possible, I thought I'd go with Kamal's Druidic Vow. 2 green and X, cast it, we look at the top X cards of your library. You may put any number of land and or legendary permanent cards with mana value X or less from among them onto the battlefield. If you can get this off for like X is 7 is the ideal number. If it's a little bit less, so be it, but I think 7, 8 is about the right number. It's one of the reasons this deck includes the Cradle, purely because I've got this card in here. What I will say is the Cradle is replaceable. I mean, I am running 39 lands in this deck. Ooh, that went big, sorry. I am running 39 lands in this deck. You can drop it down and play the wonderful enchantment, whose name I've just forgotten. 4 cards, let's do it that way, see if it brings it up while I'm thinking about it. Yeah, you go, Growing Rights for take. You could replace the Cradle with Growing Rights if you want to, just so you can get down to your creatures a little bit more. Does the same thing when it flips. It possibly is worth including this in the deck anyway, but I want to try and keep it more as it is at the moment. So bear that in mind. So when you see the price, Gaea's Cradle's expensive. Growing Rights isn't expensive. Well, it's expensive but not as expensive as Gaea's Cradle, let's put it that way. So it's something to think about. And that's it really. That's my Jodah deck. I'm really, like I say, I'm really happy that MTGO has all these commander cards coming in and all the legendary creatures in as well. There's going to be a lot more of these type of deck techs coming out over the next few weeks, as I say. But I'm recording this. This is the 3rd of September 2022. It's September month. So, yeah, I'd really love it. My birthday's coming up in actually a month today, on the 3rd of October. If you can, I'm not asking you to sub to Twitch. If you've got a spare Amazon Prime subscription you're not using, love it if you could chuck it my way. But what I'd really like is people just go over and just click on the link and give me a follow. The birthday present I really want is to hit 150 followers on my birthday, and if I can do that, I'll be a happy bunny rabbit. So please do that. But like I say, as usual, down below, go and have a look. Deck list is there. You can go and click on that. It takes you to the MTG Goldfish website where I upload all my deck lists. The link to my Twitch streams there as well, as I've just said. If you can click it, follow me. Love you. Thanks. And that's it. But keep your eyes out. There's going to be more deck techs coming over the next couple of weeks, all based around Dominaria United cards, and I'll be trying to play as many of these in stream as possible over the next few weeks. So thanks for watching, take care, and hopefully you enjoy the next video, and I'll see you in my stream soon. Cheers, bye.